Well, I really wanted to take all these little videos here, turn them into one big video, but I cannot figure out how to get the video saved to my phone. So the only other thing I need to do, because I'm so terrible at technology, is to use another phone, my husband's phone, to collect these videos, play them, which is going to mess up the quality, but I wanted it all together. So the first thing the video said to do was to, you take it out of the pot and I'm talking about videos that I've been watching doing research online because I am new to Venus flytraps for the most part. I used to try to raise them when I was little, but kids don't know much. And 30-something years ago, we didn't know what we know now, and I killed every one. So I've been doing a lot of research and trying to figure out the best way to care for these guys, propagate these guys, all kinds of stuff. And I've seen a couple videos about propagating. And in those videos, they said that different people said that it's best to pull these leaves away when you go to transplant them into bigger pots and divide them, which you do about every 3 years. So that's the videos I'm referring to. Take off the leaves. These are the leaves. And then you pluck the heads off of them, and you just have the leaf part, the stem part of the leaf, not the mouth parts. And when you pull it from the plant, you want to make sure you have to find the little white part at the end of the plant and make sure that that's on there. It says it will not work if you do not have that little white bulb right there. Okay, and then you pluck the mouthpiece off of the end. And because I'm absolutely terrified to mess with my plant, instead of taking the plant out of the pot, I took my one finger, and I stuck it down in the dirt as far as I could, and I tried to trace this plant back to the very end, and then used my one finger to pull it away. So then it said to put peat moss, well, it said a lot of things. It said perlite at the bottom, then perlite peat moss mixture in the middle, and then just the peat moss on top. I'm just going to go ahead and do the peat moss because I already have it. And I'm actually using a recycled KFC container. I always save these containers because these kinds of things always make really great little greenhouses, ways to start seeds out. And plus you can always reuse them for food, and I like to recycle as much as I can. And I'm going to use some of this all-natural potting for orchid stuff. It's sphagnum moss. They call it orchard moss, but if you look in the back, it's called sphagnum moss. That's the only ingredient, sphagnum moss. And it's organic, and I'm going to use that. Because I really hate peat moss. Even after I wet the peat moss, it's always dry in the middle. So this holds moisture really well. And so that's what I'm going to use. Because it needs to be really boggy and moist. So anyways, not a fan of peat moss. These guys love it, but I'm not a fan because it just seems like it doesn't want to absorb any of the moisture. It just wants to float. And I don't like that. So here it is, nice and boggy. I'm going to let it soak a little while and then just drain it just a tiny bit. So a couple of the guys that were doing the videos I was watching, they just laid it on top and pushed it kind of down into the bogginess a little bit. So I'm doing kind of the same thing, except that I planted So I guess I did this right, as good as I could. Like I said, I already had the sphagnum moss because I'm planning to get a bunch of Venus flytraps. And so I guess I did this right. I'm hoping that it'll work. And then I'll have a whole new plant. I'm going to put this lid on here so it has a green. And then I have a hole in the side, not in the tops, because humidity and heat rise. And so I want when it rises, I don't want it escaping through the top. My holes are in the side of the containers. And it will still escape
so
a little bit, but it doesn't go straight out of the top. It's got to circulate around a little bit. And I did put that I do not advise anybody try this because I have no idea if it will work or how long it will take. So I had more research to do to pray for my plants. Then I did more research. I found out it takes up to 2 months to see growth. I found multiple ways of propagating these plants, which is just great. I highly advise you go to these links here and look at these tips that they gave, because I didn't know there were so many different ways to do it. And you cannot clip the Venus flytrap like most people take cuttings from other plants. You can't do that. And then also, I want to continue this video with my last video that I have loaded to YouTube by itself. Yesterday was I took my finger and I just pushed it down in the dirt, and I followed the plant along the thing all the way down till I couldn't go any further, and then pushed down and out from the plant. So down and out from the plant, which pulled the leaf away, and it came out perfect. So I thought I would try that one more time with this one here. I want to make sure that I'm not getting any babies up in there. Go to do this. And I got it. And I didn't have to dig my plant up or anything to do that and stress her out too much, I guess, I hope. So that makes me really happy, because I don't want to have to just take the whole thing up and stress it out. And then I also took that one off, because they do stress so easily. Most people, they don't like to try to get the leaves off of them until they dig up the whole plant to repot, which is about every 3 years. This way I can get 1 or 2 leaves at random, which is cool. And then I put where I created the YouTube channel, and then I'm going to try different ways of propagating the 3 leaves I got. I'm doing a water propagation, and I didn't have a jar like the one website said to do it in a jar with a closed lid, so I'm using my jug of distilled water instead, making do with what I have. I may or may not be successful. And then these are the two that I took off of that plant in that video. And I linked the other post that I was at the beginning of this video. So that's all of it. I just want to keep it all together so that I know exactly what I did, how I did it. Just pray that it all works out.